So
I won't comment on that one then. But I know what Tim said and I agree.
We're now live, members.
and just a few seconds to go. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this December meeting of the Cabinet. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
No apologies this evening, Leader.
Thank you. The second item is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. The third item is the minutes. To consider and approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of November 2020. Is there anyone that has any problem with those minutes? So I take it they are approved. So we'll if you would put my signature on them, please, as approved. Thank you. We now go on to item 4, which is the Opportunities Progress Report 2020-21, and I've asked the Chairman, Councillor Rolfe, to come along and present the Director's report. Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Leader. Hopefully you've all had time to read this very comprehensive report. It covers two specific areas. Firstly, the audited accounts for the year ending 31st of March 2020. And secondly, an update to you regarding the current trading year from the 1st of April to the 31st of October 2020. I draw your attention to the fact that the company currently has 39 units in total, 30 which are available for rent. 38 of those are residential units and 1 commercial unit. I would also draw your attention to the introduction of a safety compliance register that has taken place over some time in light of the both following and in response to the East Kent housing situation. And now you'll be hopefully very pleased to hear that we regularly review on a monthly basis across a range of issues all of our properties to make sure that we fully reflect both existing and any new legislative changes. Only this month we've introduced a new column to take into account a new guideline. The key point of the first phase of the report is that the auditors have given us an unqualified approval of our accounts. There are a couple of minor adjustments to the figures that were presented to you in September, which allowed for £6,000 more expenses as a result of a slight delay in billing, and the auditor moving the deposit paid for 1.275 million for the phase 1 of the RVH scheme to a debt as opposed to being a fixed asset on our balance sheet. The update for the period to the 31st of October shows that we are running at an operating loss of 32,000, which is slightly less than anticipated and takes into account lower rentals set against actually lower expenses. So there is in fact a £5,000 reduction in the deficit compared to forecast. You'll also be very pleased to know that loan payments have been made to the District Council in terms of loan interest of £105,000 and a reduction of the principal owed to the Council of £14,000. The projected outturn to 31st of March 2021 is a loss of 109,000, which is similar to what was actually originally projected despite the current pandemic. 3 RVH stage payments have been made, totaling 539,000, which means that we've actually paid 1.814 million to the developer to cover the Phase A and Part Phase B. I'd also, as a final note, outline that the table on page 17 clearly identifies the financial benefit of Opportunitas to the council, which is projected to be around about £277,000 this year. I'll be happy to take any questions, but I know I have officers on hand to answer any that I cannot answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. Over to you, members. Have you any questions? I will move the recommendations on our report, and I will need a seconder.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody have any comment, any question at all? Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
No, I only wanted to say, Leader, that I welcome the register of safety compliance and the monitoring of that on a regular basis, and thank Councillor Rolfe for her comprehensive report. And also, I just wanted to ask. I mean, the rent arrears, that was the only thing I was going. I can see what's being done, and I'm grateful for that comment, but obviously that is an issue, and an issue that I can see you are addressing. And of course it's good to have the loan payments being made and the interest being made, so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment? No. Okay, then it's proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Wimble. Could we take the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
4.
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Peel.
4.
Councillor Prater.
4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
And Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. We now move on to item 5, additional council tax support for Kent County Council care leavers. Councillor Prater.
Thank you, Leader. Just to briefly introduce this paper, firstly, I want to pay credit to Councillor Conor McConville for bringing this motion to the October Council meeting to raise the issue. Thank you, Conor, for doing that. And I do know from a conversation I had with him yesterday that he supports the paper which is in front of Cabinet today. I'd also like to especially thank the excellent Andrew Hatcher, who's our Revenue and Benefits Lead Specialist, for his work on taking that motion and then input from both myself and the Leader and coming up with the clear, deliverable, straightforward and affordable scheme, which I'm putting to you this afternoon and I hope you can support. Clearly, we're in a financial position at the moment, as are all councils, more than ever, where we need to contain significant additional cost to this council. But equally, we do also need to do the right thing by those who we are here to support. Earlier this year, Kent County Council accepted the position that they would fund council tax payments for 18 to 21-year-old care leavers. That's to their credit, but the Children's Commissioner, Anne Longfield, has challenged councils to go further and to exempt care leavers up to the age of 25. Obviously, care leavers have had significant challenges early in life, and the intention of this is to help them step beyond those challenges where they could use that additional support. Although it's difficult to get exact figures, we've looked at the numbers available from Kent County Council and from other district authorities offering exemption schemes. It's the intention of Councillor McConville and the motion that the support should be targeted to those who need it, and that's right. And that's what this paper does. It takes and modifies the existing financial support scheme and adds care leavers between the ages of 22 and 25 who need our support to the qualifying groups. So straightforwardly, a 22 to 25-year-old care leaver living in Folkestone and Hythe would simply need to be in receipt of council tax reduction to demonstrate that they need that support. And in their case, instead of a limited reduction, it would reduce their council tax for that year to nil. Some councils operating similar council tax support schemes have only had 2 or 3 applications in the first 6 months of operation, some a few more than that. However, overall, as you can see in the paper, we believe the costs are likely to be modest. As you can see in 3.6 on Kent County Council's current figures, we're looking at £1,445 total in the year. Clearly, if more people in the 20 to 25-year-old age bracket came forward, then that number might rise. But 3.9 gives a reasonable worst case scenario cost to the council there of £21,382 a year. I don't think it's going to get anywhere near that level, but even so, you can see it's been costed and the costs of the scheme have been considered. Strongly believe that this additional support to care leavers under 25 who need it is both the right thing to do, and with the way that the scheme is built, it's also an affordable and reasonable thing to do. Really happy to move this paper and ask you all to support the recommendations. Thank you. Moving the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Prater. Does anybody want to second that?
Happy to
Councillor
second.
Wybrow, thank you. Right, over to you, members. No, well,
Yeah, there are a few.
they're coming up. Councillor Wimble, then Councillor Godfrey.
I think Councillor Godfrey was first, but mine's just very quick and basically straightforward. I think we as a council have got a good reputation for being a caring council. This isn't a great expense, and it shows that we're helping the people who need the money for other things at a time when lots of people are struggling anyway. So yeah, more than happy to back this.
Thank you. Councillor Godfrey.
Thank you. When this first came across to me, I had some reservations because how far do you go and when do you stop? Because it's not just the care leavers. I also had some worries that given we're in tight financial constraints, that it might be a bit expensive, but I don't think it's going to be. And having said that, if we don't help these people, we'll probably have to support them in another way. So the finances will be the same at the end of the day. And I think we can help, and I will be supporting the paper.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I put my hand up. I thought I'd put my hand up in the first place, but obviously I hadn't. I was just going to really reiterate what my colleagues have said, and I'd be happy to support this paper.
Thank you. Yes, I think we all agree that that it's good. I agree also concur with what Councillor Godfrey said, that one way or the other we'll end up supporting anyway. So in fact, if you actually look at it, we do a heck of a lot of support, because the figures show that we won't have a lot to do. So that says how much support we're doing already. Okay, so if nobody else wishes to speak, proposed by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Wybrow, would you take the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
For.
Councillor Godfrey.
For.
Councillor Field.
For.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
For.
Councillor Monk.
For.
Councillor Peel.
For.
Councillor Prater.
For.
Councillor Wybrow.
For.
Councillor Wimble.
For.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. We move then on to item 6, which is the budget strategy 2021-22. This is my portfolio, and you've all received the report. It has been well studied. It is basically a report at a point in time. There are within the text a lot of things that we're not absolutely sure on. Most of those will firm up when we get the local government support grant details just before Christmas. If anybody's got any questions, I'm very happy to take them. Before I do that, I will move that we accept the recommendations. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Councillor Peel, I got, thank you. Okay, over to you, members. Councillor Wybrow.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've had a long chat with Charlotte this afternoon, so I was a bit concerned about some of the savings, but she's reassured me that they won't have any big impact on what we do, so that's reassuring. I'm also a little bit sceptical about the increase in recovery of housing benefit overpayments and council tax recovery, but again, Charlotte reassures me that the officers involved are confident that that is achievable. I was just a bit worried that in the current economic environment that might be a bit optimistic, but she assures me not. And the only other point I wanted to make is on the capital growth. We have an item for beach huts on Fisherman's Beach. I know that will be potentially controversial, so I just really want to reassure anyone listening that there will be a proper decision on that. That is not a decision tonight. It's just making the funds available. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Quite right. We're making provision for it because it is a strategy. It's not an implementation. So it is quite right. The savings, and again, underlying the strategy is that we aren't doing a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic, that we are trying to keep everything as normal as possible, and that means keeping all services going. To do that, we do have to find savings where we can, and we are going to have to look to generate some more income going forward. But at the moment, we're going along. We're containing the deficit, and I think that this is the right way to go forward. Keep the optimism up. Now that we got the vaccination programme actually starting, it does give us some light at the end of the tunnel. Still, maybe late spring before it's all rolled out, but we do expect a resurgence of our economy, and keeping all our services intact, which is what this does, is very good. Okay, does anybody else wish to speak before? In which case I go from proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Peel. Can we take the vote, please?
Thank you. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4.
Councillor Field.
4.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby.
4.
Councillor Monk.
4.
Councillor Peel.
4.
Councillor Prater.
4.
Councillor Wybrow.
4.
And Councillor Wimble.
4.
Make that unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, we go on to item 7, fees and charges for 21-22. Again, this is under my portfolio. They're all set out in the report. I will move the recommendations. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Councillor Hollingsby, Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. Okay, over to you, members. You've all, this of course is all of you've had input if it crosses your portfolio at all, so you should all be okay with it. Councillor Prater.
Thank you. I'm not going to go on at this in any great length, which will please everyone enormously. Just to mention, though, under recommendation 2, how welcome the fact that the parking charges referred to in Appendix 3 are not rising at all next year will be to so many residents. I think that is an excellent decision by Councillor Godfrey and officers, and I commend that. I
do also entirely. I think again, as I was saying on the previous report, we want to be in a good position to bounce back when we can and get our local economy running again. And I do think it would have been would have sent the wrong message if we put the parking fees up. Although we really should, because we should keep keep them going with inflation, and it is one of our other forms of income other than council tax. However, I agree entirely that this is at this time the right strategy. Okay, is there any other council wishes to speak on this? No. Well, it's proposed by me and seconded by Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. Can we take the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier.
4.
Councillor Godfrey.
4,
Councillor Field,
4,
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
4,
Councillor Monk,
Four.
Councillor Peel,
4,
Councillor Prater,
Or
Councillor Wybrow,
Or
Councillor Wimble.
Or
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. We now move on to item 8, the draft homelessness prevention strategy 2020 to 25 consultation responses, and I'll go to
Councillor Godfrey, I think.
yes, Councillor Godfrey.
Thank you, Leader. This does in fact fall across both my portfolio and Councillor Hollingsby's, and I'm sure Jenny will want to add something. I'm really pleased to be bringing this report to you. It came to scrutiny for the first time in September, and following their comments and further consideration, it was put out to consultation. We then had the consultation responses, which are fully laid out in the report. And although they're not very many, I want to emphasise that our officers worked very hard to contact all our partner agencies and get their comments. And furthermore, they took it to the Homeless Forum, so they worked hard to make sure we got the maximum exposure on this one. The policy will be reviewed annually, which is very sensible. And I think I have to thank the officers, and particularly Mr. Adrian Hammond, for the enormous amount of hard work he's put into this, and the amount of information is given us in this report. You can see all the responses to the consultation, you can see how they've been dealt with, and you can see how we are moving forward to further help the homeless in our district. I would like to move the paper, and I'll hand over to Councillor Hollingsby.
Thank you, Councillor God, and I'm very happy, obviously, to second. I don't think I've got anything really to add other than to add my thanks to Adrian Hammond and to actually all our partners, and to those people who actually responded to the consultation, and the fact that they've all been considered, and it's quite clear in the report the action that's been taken. So I completely recommend this and very happy to second.
Thank you. I too think it's a very good report. Over to you, members. Anybody wish to comment? No. Okay, as I say,
Councillor Wybrow.
Councillor Wybrow.
Yes, no, I think it's a very good report too. I think it recognises the problems, and I think it comes up with a wide range of solutions to the problems. I mean, and I think it's important. I mean, obviously, street homelessness is the most visible aspect of homelessness, but I think, as the report recognises, there's a much, in terms of numbers anyway, there's a much bigger problem of people who are living in very precarious situations, subject to Section 21, or hidden homelessness, sofa surfing. So I think it's, it's great that we're doing all this work for prevention. A couple of things I particularly wanted to pick up on. I know it's only on a very small scale at the moment, but the Housing First programme is something that I strongly support. It also mentions keeping the website and the leaflets up to date. As, I have been having some emails discussion with some of the officers about this. I think it does need updating, but I think it's very important that we do, because I think we're about to next year see an onslaught of evictions. And so the more self-help that people can do, the better. So the better information we can put out there, the better. As always, I'm worried about people who are falling through the net a little bit, maybe eligible for help and for some reason or other don't know about it. So I think we do need to keep that under control and keep it monitored. I did ask some questions at the last cabinet member meeting about that sort of thing, and I'm really grateful to Adrian and Mark for spending quite a lot of time answering those questions for me. So yeah, I'm very happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wybrow. Yes, we're again, perhaps the public don't get to read all these reports. They should, because the wealth of detail in there is phenomenal. We do have the actual rough sleeping homeless are the hardest to deal with. We are doing very well. I actually had an update today where we've only got one that is still proving to be a problem, basically because of behavioural problems. But that's very, very, very good. Okay, so it's proposed by Councillor Godfrey, seconded by Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. Would you take the vote, please?
you, Leader. Councillor Collier,
4.
Councillor Godfrey,
4.
Councillor Field,
4.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
4,
Councillor Monk,
4.
Councillor Peel,
4.
Councillor Prater,
4.
Councillor Wybrow,
4.
and Councillor Wimble.
4.
That's unanimous, Leader.
Thank you. We now come to item 9, and I move to exclude the public for the following item of business on the grounds that it is likely to disclose exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, that is, information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Financial or business affairs includes contemplated as well as current activities. Do I have a seconder?
happy to second, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Hollingsby. Would we go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Collier,
4.
Councillor Godfrey,
4.
Councillor Field,
4.
Councillor Mrs Hollingsby,
4,
Councillor Monk,
Or
Councillor Peel,
4.
Councillor Prater,
4.
Councillor Wybrow,
4.